guys watching my videos, of the new people that subscribed, of all the people that are commenting. I really, really appreciate it, and you guys know I say it in every video, but I will continue to say it in every video because I continue to be surprised and appreciated by the love that I get from you guys. So, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch that video, to watch this one as well. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. And with that being said, let's get into this video. Alright, so fact number 1 says, to encourage more young people to donate blood, there is a university hospital in Gothenburg, Sweden, that sends a text to donors when their blood has been dispensed to someone in need. A common issue with blood donation, along with other types of charitable donations, is that a donor doesn't know the recipient. It's harder to convince them that donating is beneficial, but with this system, which started in 2012, potential donors in Sweden have proved that their contribution is going to a good use. And that's awesome. That's a great way to get people more, I guess, more convinced into donating, because they know that what they donate will be for a good cause and not like a ripoff. Because you do have some companies that are non-charitable, and the product doesn't usually go to who it's intended to go to, you know. The next one says, today sunglasses serve as protective eyewear, effectively preventing bright sunlight from causing discomfort or damage to our eyes. But the intentional use for this, other than being a fashion accessory, sunglasses were originally made out of smoky quartz in the 12th century in China, where they were used by judges to mask their emotions when they were questioning witnesses. And I know they have used sunglasses before for psychological reasons, like especially not cops. What was it like? I think it was like prison guards. They did like social experiments where the prison guards would use sunglasses just because it hid their emotions, but also their more of their face. So it would be harder for, I guess, the person who was the prisoner to feel more comfortable with the guard, just because it was hiding more of their face, and they just were not as comfortable with them, which was the intention of the psychological experiment. In March 2019, the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans decided to celebrate its 125th anniversary by offering a free 7-night stay in its presidential suite, along with complimentary private dinners and spa treatments worth a whopping $15,000. But this wasn't a standard giveaway. The prize was only available to the person who returned the most outrageous item ever stolen from the hotel. And the winner was somebody who brought back a stolen coffee pot. And from the rules, because this was in March 2019, the rules stated that the item had to be like a certain couple of years old, because hundreds of autographs, which their families would have been able to sell if they didn't make it home. Luckily, those life insurance autographs were not needed. They do, however, show up in space memorabilia auctions today, selling for as much as $30,000. In December 18th, 2018, a meteor hit our atmosphere. And it says, it exploded with a force that was 10 times the energy of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. It wasn't discovered by NASA until the scientists until the impact. Turns out it went largely undetected because it took place over the Bering Sea. In that area, it was close, but not directly on the path of commercial planes flying between North America and Asia. And that's kind of insane because we didn't even know about that. Like, NASA didn't even know about that until the impact. Wow, imagine if that would have hit, like, land and not the sea. The standard Ohio license plate is white with navy blue letters and numbers and a red border at the top. That is, of course, if you don't have multiple DUIs. Since 1967, Ohio has issued special yellow license plates with red characters to DUI offenders. As of 2004, these quote-unquote party plates are mandatory for repeat DUI offenders, and whenever a driver's blood alcohol level is twice the legal limit. While there's public shame that comes along with these license plates, it also helps the police spot these vehicles when patrolling highways. That's pretty smart because, you know, it kind of, the highway police or just police in general can kind of keep an eye on them just to make sure they're not driving under the influence, because obviously if they're repeat DUI offenders, if they done it once and didn't care, and they did it twice and they didn't care, you know, obviously they might do it more, and you know, we don't want them to go out and hurt somebody, take an innocent life. So that's great. I didn't know if that was a fact. I didn't even know if that was true. If you're from Ohio, you know, hit us up. Let us know if they still do it. Bubble wrap was invented in 1957 by engineers Alfred W. Fielding and Mark Chavanes, who sealed two shower curtains together, creating a smattering of air bubbles, which they initially tried to sell as wallpaper. In 1960, they realized the product could be used for protection in packaging, and they founded Sealed Air Corporation. When the inventors showed the product to IBM, which had just launched its first mass production computers, the tech company became the first big bubble wrap client. Sealed Air still exists today, creating both cryovac food packaging and, yes, bubble wrap. Gender-based baby colors. So, I didn't actually know this, but so now we see the colors as blue is for boys and pink is for girls. But back in the day, which I didn't research exactly when this was, but I believe it was in the 1900s, the choice was entirely opposite. Boys was pink and girls was blue, and I think the reason they said that was because blue was like more of a light color, so it was more fitted for the girls, and then pink, I think they said it was a stronger color, so it was for the boys, something like that. But yeah, so boys used to be pink and girls used to be blue, and the reason why color based stuff was invented is because clothing manufacturers didn't want kids to share, thus increasing their sales. So if you have two girls, well, so answers. If you have a girl and she grows up and then you have a boy, obviously you're gonna go get clothes for boys. So that increase their sales. Which is smart. Can't hate them for that. A mantis shrimp can swing its claws so fast it boils the water around it. Its swing is 50 times faster than we can blink, and it uses these hammer-like claws to break open shells and hunt its prey. If you have not seen the videos of a mantis shrimp, it is insane. That thing is vast and it's powerful. There was like a video where it was like I don't know what kind of sorry about that. I don't know what kind of animal it was fighting, but man, it hit it and you just hear like a knock, like I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I guess knock on wood. And he kept knocking. He kept hammering at it, and it just sounded like he was knocking on a door. And you just see the shell of the animal. I don't know if it was like a shellfish or what, but it was just breaking little by little. And then like on the third punch, it just cracked open, and then he hit the actual shellfish, whatever, and one hit, and it was gone. And then there was other videos where they would like feed, like people own them, so somebody was feeding it, and they put like a fish in there, and it hit it. You hear like the knock sound, and that fish was knocked out, and it just went and ate it. That thing is crazy, and it's really interesting, and overall, it's a beautiful, beautiful animal. But yeah, I mean, if you're into animals, it's definitely a really interesting one. Alright, so the next one says lighter skin tone only developed in humans about 5,800 years ago, as that is when modern Europeans began to resemble those of today. This occurred as people began to live in higher altitudes, which were protected from dangerous UV rays, as opposed to those living in areas with more sunshine and the need for higher levels of melanin to protect from the radiation. And speaking of our ancestors of the Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, brain surgery is a risky endeavor. Now imagine prehistoric brain surgery. And although it sounds scary, not only was it practiced, but evidence suggests that it was quite successful. I guess they call it trepanation, or in simpler terms, drilling a hole in a person's skull, has been done for various reasons for over 10,000 years. But it might not have always been that crazy of an idea. The procedure can actually release pressure on the brain in case of injury, and might rarely have actually been beneficial. Skulls found with primitive surgery marks are in evidence of bone tissue regrowth. Skulls found with primitive surgery marks and evidence of bone tissue regrowth date back to 8,000 BC. Researchers can tell whether or not a patient survived based on bone patterns. If the hole had a pie crust-like pattern of divots, that means the skull had begun to grow back following the procedure. Bone, however, grows very slowly. Some patients likely lived out the rest of their days with a large hole in their head. And that's kind of crazy to think about, imagine living with that hole in your head. I mean, yeah, it's gonna regrow, but bones take so much to regrow. It takes a lot. And to think as well, those were back in the times where they didn't have anesthesia and stuff like that, so you were awake and you had to deal with that pain. That's crazy. Not only that, like with things like they didn't have modern medication and stuff like that, so they didn't have pain pills and let's talk about, let's say, infection. You get dirt in there, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure their hygiene wasn't as good as ours. You know, they didn't have running water, stuff like that. So, you know, if that part of their brain got infected, or they went swimming or something like that, you know, it would have been a debilitation in your body. So as soon as you get something in there like dirt, you know, it's gonna be an infection, and it's gonna be something that's gonna take you out quick. One form of prehistoric surgery used ants in order to sew up wounds, primarily used in the Americas. People would hold an ant above an open wound and wait for it to bite the skin with its pincers. Once bitten, the head would be removed so that the pincers would stay in place as a stitch. Interesting. Found in 1991 in the Ötztal Alps. I probably butchered that. The quote-unquote the Iceman is the earliest natural human mummy ever discovered in Europe, alive from sometime between 3400 and 3100 BC. The most surprising thing about his body was that it had tattoos, and not just one or two, but 61 different tattoos in total, making him the oldest tattooed mummy ever found. The tattoo ink was produced from ash or soot, and is believed to have been used of a form of pain relief. And this one is, there's like a little article that was talking about reviving the mammoth. And I always thought that was interesting, because I feel like every year they always talk about, next year we're reviving the mammoth, and the next 5 years we're reviving the mammoth, and it never happens. But this one was made in 2020, in I believe May, and it kind of has an interesting point on why we couldn't. It's not saying that we can't or why we shouldn't. It's kind of saying why we wouldn't, something like that. But anyways, it says if scientists were to create woolly mammoths, their model organisms would need the ability to inhabit a variety of environments. The cold, grassy steppes that allowed woolly mammoths to spread across the northern hemisphere are almost entirely gone, and the last vestige of such places may soon disappear with continued global warming. And don't forget, we talked about global warming in the last video. Even if today we were to go carbon zero, we would still feel the effects of global warming. Not as bad as if we continue to make this greenhouse effect, but it would still, you know, we would still feel the differences. Fine-tuning a resurrected mammoth to have a perfect, invariable appearance of the classic woolly mammoth would be an artificial construct that doesn't match what the fossil record is telling us. Even if a resurrected mammoth looked like its ancestors, it wouldn't have a herd to teach it how to act like the mammoths of the past. Much like modern elephants, mammoths likely had complex behavior that was taught by other mammoths over time. And then it has a quote saying, I often tell my students that even if we re-engineered a mammoth and had one sitting in front of us to study, we still wouldn't be able to tell how the original extinct mammoths behave unless we were able to recreate their lost ecosystem and re-engineer the entire population. A 21st century mammoth would be entirely divorced from the ecosystem the Ice Age pachyderms evolved in and inhabited. A reminder that environments such as important to an organism as the details of its DNA. And another reason says fine-tuning a resurrected mammoth to have a certain class, you know. The other thing would be, again, if we were to make a baby woolly mammoth and put it in the wild, we can't put it in the wild by itself. It would just die. We would have to put it with its, I guess, mother, quote unquote mother, whoever brings it into life and has it born. That's if we don't breed it out of a test tube. But let's say the closest ancestor is, I believe, the Asian elephant. So that mammoth would possibly look like a mammoth, and it might not. The only way that we could for sure get it to look like a mammoth would be for us to do a DNA mutation to make it look exactly like that. But the offspring, so the mammoth, if it was around the Asian elephant, it would learn to be an Asian elephant. It wouldn't, with all the DNA mutation stuff like that, it still has to learn from mammoths. But if it's the only mammoth, it wouldn't learn how to be a mammoth. It will learn how to be an Asian elephant. So that's the other issue. That yes, we could probably bring back the mammoth, and we could use DNA mutation to make it look like a mammoth, but it wouldn't act like it. We wouldn't be able to research it because, again, it would just act like an Asian elephant or whatever group of elephants it's put with. And then you have the whole thing with the environment again. You know, it needs an environment like it had, and with things like humans taking over their areas and global warming, it's a difficult situation to look at. And I guess the more we study it, the more we're like, maybe it's not such a good idea to bring it back. Maybe it's easier for us to learn about them from their bones and finding them frozen in, you know, these areas, rather than bring them back to life. Because even if we brought them back to life, we wouldn't really learn much from them, and what would we do with them other than maybe put them in the zoos and stuff like that. But that's another issue, you know. People would be like, well, why'd you bring it back? Just to have it locked up in a zoo, locked up in like a little glass box where it can't roam free and be happy. And obviously another thing would be like, eventually if we got a bunch of mammoths together, poachers and stuff like that, just like with any other elephants, they would also probably face extinction. But oh man, that's a long talk, that's a long debate, and it's already really late. So I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I hope you guys are doing great, and I really appreciate the love. Once again, I appreciate the love. I always appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope you guys have a great night, have a great sleep, or just overall having a great day listening to this video. Thank you guys so much. This has been One Take ASMR, and you guys have a wonderful day.